The world feels flat, until it suddenly isn't, revealing the fragility beneath the surface. On October 17, 2025, America's ports, the gateways to the global economy, are grinding to a halt, bringing trade to a standstill. There's no explosion, no war, just a silent tremor through the system, a whisper of disruption. Ships idle offshore, cranes frozen, the hum of commerce replaced by an eerie quiet that echoes across the nation. This isn't just a logistical hiccup. It's a fundamental challenge to the way we've lived for 50 years, a test of our resilience. It started with a few delayed shipments, then a slowdown in Los Angeles and Long Beach, and now, paralysis from Savannah to Seattle, spreading like a virus. Officially, it's labor disputes, outdated infrastructure, and new regulations causing the gridlock. But the pattern feels coordinated, strategic, as if orchestrated by unseen hands. The supply chain is being weaponized, turned into a tool of economic warfare. For decades, we marveled at just-in-time manufacturing and seamless global trade, the wonders of modern logistics. That system is now being turned against us, a double-edged sword. Goods are choked off, not by warships, but by bureaucratic pressure points, a new kind of blockade. The impact is everywhere. Empty storerooms, halted production lines, and shortages from electronics to household goods, affecting daily life. Even the digital economy is feeling the strain as data centers await critical parts, threatening our connectivity. This is the new front line of geopolitical conflict, where battles are fought with trade routes and supply chains. The battle isn't on land or sea, but in the logistics networks that power the 21st century economy, a silent war. The prosperity globalization brought is now a vulnerability, a chink in our armor. The system that made us strong is now our greatest weakness, a paradox of progress. America's supply chain is under siege, a crisis at our gates. To understand today's paralysis, we have to look back. Trade wars in the late 2010s and early 2020s shattered trust in global commerce. Tariffs and retaliation made companies rethink supply chains, but change was slow. The pandemic exposed just how fragile these networks were. Afterward, talk of reshoring and friendshoring surged, but China remained indispensable. U.S. policies in 2023 and 2024 aimed to decouple from China in key sectors, but Beijing saw this as economic aggression. China responded with subtle but devastating moves, new inspection requirements, delayed shipments, and rerouted shipping capacity. These weren't open hostilities, just bureaucratic maneuvers with massive impact. The flow of goods from China slowed to a trickle, creating backlogs at U.S. ports. American importers, fearing delays, over-ordered, overwhelming the system. When delayed ships finally arrived, ports were swamped. Aging infrastructure and labor shortages couldn't keep up. Trucks stalled, warehouses overflowed, and the system seized up. A single gear failed, and the whole engine stopped. The dominoes fell, one after another. What began as a policy dispute became a full-blown crisis. The vulnerabilities were always there. Now they're impossible to ignore. The port collapse is rippling through every American town. Empty shelves are the most visible sign, but the impact runs deeper. A missing chemical from Asia halts U.S. packaging, a single chip stops a Michigan auto line. The web of global dependencies has become a massive vulnerability. Small businesses are hit hardest, lacking the resources to survive. A toy store owner's holiday inventory is stuck offshore. A contractor can't finish homes without basic materials. These stories, multiplied nationwide, are dragging down the economy. Inflation is surging as goods become scarce and shipping costs skyrocket. A $500 TV now costs $700 if you can find one. The Federal Reserve faces a dilemma: fight inflation or risk recession. Beyond economics, there's a psychological toll. The promise of reliable supply is broken, replaced by anxiety and uncertainty. Americans are questioning the globalized system they once took for granted. The empty shelves are a daily reminder of our dependence and our lack of control. The debate over globalization versus local security is no longer theoretical. The U.S. port crisis is sending shockwaves across the globe, disrupting the very arteries of international trade. Factories in Vietnam and Mexico, built to supply the vast American market, are now idling, their production lines silent and workers waiting for orders that may never come. Ships stuck at U.S. ports create a worldwide shortage of vessels and containers, driving up costs for everyone and causing delays that ripple through every continent. European economies are alarmed, not just by direct disruption, but by the far-reaching ripple effects that threaten their own industries and financial markets. A German automaker waits for a critical part routed through the US. A French brand faces double shipping costs, squeezing profits and threatening jobs. The world economy is a single body. When one organ fails, all feel it. No nation is truly isolated from the pain. Developing nations are especially vulnerable, lacking the resources to weather prolonged disruptions. Southeast Asian textile exporters and South American farmers face plummeting orders, soaring costs, and mounting uncertainty about their future. For them, this isn't just about profits. It's about jobs, daily survival, and the stability of entire communities. Years of hard-won development are suddenly at risk. Political instability and unrest could easily follow. The crisis is forcing a re-evaluation of global relationships, as leaders scramble to adapt to a new reality. The US as central consumer and the dollar as king now look risky, exposing vulnerabilities in the global system. Nations are scrambling to diversify exports, forge new partnerships, and reduce dependence on America's market. Regional trade blocs are gaining ground, offering new opportunities and alliances. The world is shifting from a US-centered system to a multipolar one, with new trade hubs emerging. The very map of global trade is being redrawn, as countries seek new routes and partners. The era of seamless globalization is over, replaced by a world where uncertainty is the new normal. For Beijing, this isn't a crisis, it's a calculated move. China's leaders see manufacturing dominance as strategic leverage. They watch the US use sanctions. Now, they're using the supply chain. No trade embargo, just new green audits and complex inspections for US-bound goods. Publicly, these are domestic policies. In reality, they're a bureaucratic blockade. Meanwhile, China is courting Europe, Africa, and South America, offering smoother trade and discounts. This two-pronged approach punishes the US and strengthens China's global ties. It's geoeconomics, using economic tools for geopolitical goals. The message is clear: contain China, and there will be consequences. The silent supply chain squeeze is a warning shot. The world is adapting fast. Mexico, Vietnam, and India are vying to become new manufacturing hubs, offering incentives and upgrading infrastructure. Nearshoring to Mexico is booming. Proximity trumps cheap labor overseas. Europe is pushing for strategic autonomy, investing in domestic tech and forging new trade deals. But this scramble creates new tensions, subsidy races, protectionism, and the risk of a poorer, less stable world. The US port collapse has triggered a global realignment, its outcome still uncertain. To truly grasp the depth of this crisis, you have to listen to those on the front lines, the people whose daily lives are shaped by every delay and disruption. Maria Sanchez, a veteran truck driver at Long Beach, shares her struggle. "I used to do 4 runs a day. Now, I'm lucky to get one. My income's been cut in half." For Maria and many others, every lost run means more than just lost wages. It's food off the table, bills unpaid, and growing uncertainty. An anonymous longshoreman explains, "They blame us, but the yards are full. We're just shuffling containers around, not moving them out." The frustration is palpable, as workers feel powerless to fix a system that's grinding to a halt. Containers sit for weeks, unmoved. A game of Tetris, with no solution in sight, each day adding to the backlog and the pressure. A shipping line manager calls it a perfect storm, slowdowns in Asia, then a flood of ships, but no way to move the goods. The chaos is global, but the consequences are felt locally. Every link in the chain is broken. Not enough chassis, warehouse space, or drivers. Each shortage creates a ripple effect, compounding the crisis. Rerouting ships only spreads the congestion, shifting the problem from one port to another without solving it. A small business owner near the port, importing furniture, pleads, "My life savings are in those containers. Customers are waiting. Employees need paychecks. Every day of delay puts my business at greater risk." It's not just geopolitics, it's my life falling apart. For many, the crisis is personal, not just economic. The crisis isn't abstract for these people. It's daily survival, a constant struggle to make ends meet. The news talks of trade wars and global supply chain issues, but on the docks, it's personal. It's about livelihoods, families, and futures. The cost is measured in lost jobs, shuttered businesses, and broken dreams, each statistic a real person's story. The human toll is mounting, one story at a time, as families struggle to adapt to a new reality. The system's failure is felt most by those with the least power, those who have the fewest resources to weather the storm. The front lines of global trade are filled with frustration and fear as uncertainty becomes the new normal. The crisis is real, and it's reshaping lives in ways that will be felt for years to come. The supply chain isn't just about goods, it's about people, families, and communities bound together by work and hope. The stakes are as personal as they are global, with every delay echoing through homes and businesses around the world. The pain is immediate, the solutions distant, and the uncertainty overwhelming. The crisis has a human face, one etched with exhaustion, worry, and resilience. The world's problems are piling up, literally, in containers that block the flow of trade and hope. And the people who keep things moving are the ones paying the price, bearing the weight of a crisis they didn't create. America stands at a crossroads. We can patch the old system or build something new and resilient. The first step: clear the backlog with a wartime-level mobilization, federal coordination, 24/7 port operations, and emergency storage. Appoint a port czar to cut through red tape. Next, invest in modern infrastructure, deeper channels, automation, and better rail and highway links. The bipartisan infrastructure law was a start, but much more is needed. Finally, rethink supply chains. Prioritize resilience over lowest cost, reshore and nearshore critical industries, and partner with trusted allies. This isn't about making everything at home, but securing essentials. Government and industry must work together to rebuild. The crisis is a wake-up call, one we can't afford to ignore. The consequences of this crisis will echo for decades. The era of seamless globalization is ending. The world is fracturing into competing blocks. China leads one, North America another, and Europe strives for independence. Trade will be more regional, supply chains shorter and costlier. Security and predictability will rival efficiency. Nations will treat industrial capacity as national security. The line between economics and geopolitics is gone. America's global power, built on economic leadership, is challenged. We must compete, innovate, and strengthen alliances. Our future depends on choices we make now, about infrastructure, industry, and partnerships. The old map is gone. We're drawing a new one. The port crisis wasn't the cause, but the catalyst. The age of geo-economic competition has begun.